Alright, if the video is good.
Okay.
So if you'll go ahead and introduce the mic keeps. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself and your position at Madawan.
Hi, I'm Russ Young. I'm the Director of Buildings and Grounds at Madawan Schools. I've been here for 36 years, and I'm an alum of the school district as well.
All right, 36.
36 years, yes, I know.
Okay, we're done. Okay.
More than twice as long as he's been alive.
All right, so
You want me to put that in there?
with our facilities video, we're obviously focused on two parts of the school. We talked to Mr. Haddon about the damage that's in the stage area. If you could explain to us the damage, like how did it happen? How was it? When did this happen? What are some of the results? What's being fixed? What's not being fixed? And what's going to happen if we don't address these issues?
Well, this has been an ongoing issue since the day this building was built, quite honestly. We have split-face block on the exterior of the building, which acts like a big sponge. It's very porous and absorbs the moisture instead of repelling it or letting it shed off like normal brick or siding would on a home. So the water has absorbed, soaked through the block, over and over again over the years, after almost 30 years in this building. And then it goes underneath the roof membrane, which that's what the roof is, like a shingle, but it's a single ply material on the roof and soaks into the insulation. Well then, of course, with no air movement, eventually that just gets the metal deck pan, which supports the whole thing, wet, and it rusts and it's falling apart. And so this summer, actually, we're going to be replacing the membrane, which is the roof material, and any damaged insulation that we find because of a bond that passed just recently, but we have no money in the budget to replace the roof deck pan itself at this time. So one of the things we need to do, which we've done 3 times over the years, is spray the block with a sealant that repels the water, and that way we don't get the seepage into the block. Now, it's only a temporary fix. That lasts 4 to 5 years usually. A lot of companies and businesses now are finding that the best thing to do is to cover that split face block, either remove it, cover it with brick, or with like a metal siding itself, so that of course then there's no penetration into that porous material.
Okay, gotcha. So what's going to happen if we're not able to fix this issue?
Well, ultimately, as you can imagine, any kind of metal, like on your car, over time it rusts and you get holes. And then you don't have, with a roof, it's a little different than a car, of course, because the metal pan is supporting the insulation and the roof membrane itself. And ultimately, you're going to have some seepage, things are going to start to fall through, you're going to have soft spots in your roof.
All right, so you mentioned something about, when you described it to me, that something eventually it could collapse. That there's, like, if you could describe just a little bit more about the internal damage and what would happen if it's not addressed.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Well, eventually the roof pan will rot away to the point where there's no support there whatsoever. It could just collapse, and then the only thing you have there is insulation holding up a thin layer of roof material, which, is it going to fall in and hurt someone? Not necessarily, because it's not going to fall off in big sheets, but if someone is walking on the roof doing some repair work or whatever might have to be done up there, they could fall through that area. If you can imagine on your home where you have a wood paneling or plywood down and then you have shingles over the top, your shingles might look okay, but water may have gotten underneath the shingles and rotted away the boards. So from a distance it looks okay, but you go up there and start walking around, you could fall through your roof.
So this isn't necessarily something we're going to put in there. And this is a question that someone from the public might ask, is that we approved this bond. But since we approved the bond and that money was allocated for that, some things have happened since then. Because people might be curious about, like, why wasn't the internal damage that was created, why isn't that covered in the bond? Could you clarify a little bit? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, because we didn't know the extent of the damage, and we won't know exactly, again, using your home as an example, until you tear those shingles off, you can't see all the damage that's done underneath there. And so, of course, what they do is they come out and they take core samples. They come out and they actually penetrate through the roof and take samples, and they can look at certain areas, but they're not doing the entire roof. They're just doing sections of the roof to see what does it look like as an average that you're going to have in that on that roof surface. So since the bond went out and was approved, now we've seen more damage that has surfaced since then that we can see from underneath, like on the running track where all the buckets are and so forth. Wasn't quite so evident until just recently, and that's when we're seeing that we definitely have more issues.
Okay. So I think that we already have another interview, and then we're obviously going to use this to describe the damage there. We have a bunch of footage of the garbage is lined up, and so I think we're good with the interview portion.
Okay.
Where I was hoping to utilize some